What's going on, beautiful people? Thank you for returning back to my channel, The Root Wave. In this episode, I have Destiny. Destiny, please say hello to the audience and let us know where we can find you, please.
Hi, my name is Destiny. You can find me at Destiny Poet on Instagram.
And now tell us a little bit about what you do, please.
So I'm a poet and spoken word artist. Also, what else do I do? I'm also an organizer. I host a writing workshop bi-weekly for a Bronx writers group called Mikasa Writers, and I also host my own open mic. So a couple of different things, but again, yes, I'm a poet, spoken word artist, and writer.
Now tell me a little bit about how you got into being a writer and a poet and being confident in your work as well.
Oof. So I started writing when I was a teenager, but more just for myself, like journaling in high school because one of my teachers just had us journal for class, and I just found myself liking it. Like I liked the way it felt. It was therapeutic for me. Instead of telling like everyone else all of these feelings I was having, I would just write them down, right? Um, and then that I liked the way it felt, so I kept doing it. I would do it on the train and like my notes app. And when I went to college, I was a business major first, and I hated it. For me, personally, I just like really did not like my classes, though I did, learn a lot from them. But yeah, my freshman year and beginning of sophomore year, I was like, this is not, for me. I was very different from the people in my business classes. Um, and the only class, like I was thinking to myself, I was like, I can't keep doing this. So like, what do I really like? Like, be honest with yourself, right? And yeah, I remember all I would do when I saw my best friend was talk to her about my English courses. Like I'd be like, oh my God, today we read this, and then today we read that, and then she was like, oh my God. So yeah, just realizing myself like, oh, this is really my path, and being honest with myself. Yeah, but it took a while, like you said, to be confident. It took a very long time. I'm still working on that, to be honest. It's a constant battle, but I'm way more into it, into my confidence than I was back then. So yeah.
Well, you mentioned something that I think a lot of us, especially that are creative, that we're constantly battling. What is it that you feel that we battle as a creative?
All of us.
Oh well, you. I mean, I know that you're
Oh
gonna
me.
speak on you, and then you're
Right.
gonna all of us that are watching gonna be like, yeah, us too.
What do I battle with as a creative? I say getting out of my own head sometimes. So obviously creating, it comes naturally, right? But then putting things out there, I'd say, like saying, hey, I'm finished with this. I'm ready to release this in some way, shape, or form. That's, the anxiety of it all is something that I battle. So the anxiety of like, will people like this, or like, what are they going to think about my work? So that I'd say is the biggest hurdle for me. And then sometimes just think, oh well. But yeah, I'd say I'm still working on that. Yeah.
Well, a reason that I've been interviewing, besides the fact that I've been referred to people like you,
Hmm.
I wanted to speak to you guys because I I know that I'm an awesome writer myself, and I'm hoping to get into publishing some stuff, and I just have to say that I haven't started, and I all the ideas are in my head, and I'm pretty confident all my work that I do is just for some reason it's just so hard to like
Yeah.
really put it down, you know? What would you advise people like me or who are watching that want to start writing and want to get their stuff at least on paper so that way we can get some momentum going? What do you think that we should be able to do and how should we start?
Just start where you are
Hmm.
and just literally write as much as you can. Like I said, I would do it whenever I found some type of solace, whatever that means to you. I started doing it on the train. I know that
Mm.
sounds weird, finding solace in that. But yeah, just put yourself first, right? If this is something you really feel called to, eventually you will be like, no, this is what is in my path. I have to do this. Be honest with myself. Put yourself first and just start. Um, Tune out the voices. It's hard, but I think that's the most important thing. Remembering, for me, what when I get like the anxiety of all that, like I try to remember why I do it, and then I think like it's not for anyone else. It's for me. So why am I caring about that so much? So yeah, just do it
So
for yourself.
yeah, so once you start putting it out there, what has been the response?
I say there's mixed responses. I do spoken word and then also like writing, which I think are very different, right? Like paper poetry versus spoken word art. So uh, those have been very different, and the responses for both of them. Um, some people are gonna like your art, and some aren't. They haven't lived your life, right? But I say, especially when me performing, if one person in the audience feels moved, then like I did my job, and that's pretty much it.
Have you ever received a, or have, can you share some of the responses that you received in regards to your writing or your spoken word
Yeah,
that has like moved you?
yeah. Um, Thankfully, it's been a lot. I'd say for spoken word, I talk a lot about mental health
Mm.
for myself and like my own experience in that in my poetry. So oftentimes, I mean, there's been various times where I've shared a mental health poem about myself, about anxiety or depression, right? And someone would say, "Hey, like I feel you," or "Thank you for that," or they would say a line that I said and say like, you know, "I've been through that as well," and just connecting that human interaction and human experience really like brings joy to me. So yeah, there's been a lot of that, I'd say, for me for mental health, which was the most scariest to start speaking about for me because I was still self-conscious about it. But yeah, that feedback just made me realize that I should continue to, because these things need to be spoken about.
Do you, since you speak about mental health, do you feel that a lot of the mental health issues is because of lack of expression or being able to speak up and write about or be creative about
Yeah.
how you feel?
Yeah, I think it's still like, though we've come so far as a society, I think some of it is still taboo, especially with other generations before us. So I, I think the millennial generation is kind of breaking those generational curses, but there's still some of that ignorance lingering, right? So I think it's important to continue the work. It's not finished, and the more we speak about it and make it normal, like other illnesses, then it will become just that.
Where do you see, because you're in that world of writing and spoken word, where do you see that going? Because now it's because of social media and everything, it's coming out a lot more. So
Yeah.
where do you see it going? Like let's
Ah,
say in the year, 3 years, something like that.
oof. Well, I think it's growing rapidly. I think people are finally realizing that they can create what they want, right? With all of these platforms that we have on social media. They're seeing people just express themselves in different ways and not like, though I'm a writer, uh, a lot of creatives are just being creative, not boxing themselves into just being a writer or a visual artist or a spoken word artist or a poet versus fiction writer. I think people are breaking out of those um, titles for themselves and just calling themselves a creative, uh, and just creating what they want. So I think we're gonna see more of that, which I do enjoy. Um, yeah, I think it's just gonna grow and grow and grow.
Do you
Yeah.
see any hurdles in this space?
Yeah. I think unfortunately, the same hurdles that are always there or always have been there. Cultures. You know, I'd say that is a big thing in the writing community. I got it.
What in
It's a
what
weird
sense though?
See, I even feel weird saying it. I would say that because, right, I personally think I can speak for myself. There's, um, again, since I, you know, do spoken word and other writing, there's usually a divide between the two. There's like a big one, right? Like, oh no, you're a spoken word artist or you're a slam poet. You're not a real writer, right?
Mm.
Um, so there's that. I say classism, like there's all of that. So like, you know, it sometimes people will demean your art, like again saying like that's not what we do here, right? Like stick to what you know, pretty much. Um, so for me, I'd say that's what I've seen in my personal experience, and I mean it is what it is. It just makes me like want to go harder and say yeah I do this. It's the foundation to where I have come from, and it was the type of art that was accessible to me where I found my voice, and that has provided me other platforms to grow and do other things with. So yeah.
Mhm. Do you see a bias in when it comes to gender also?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Like what?
um, yeah, yes. I say some writing in general can be, yeah. The question was gender. Yes, like usually, right? As a society, when you think of the greatest writers ever, they're usually white men,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
So just that being the face of it all, like who's your favorite writer? Someone's probably gonna say
Mark Twain.
exactly. So it's not like it's like, oh, okay, great, that's wonderful. But where does that leave me, right?
Right.
So yeah, definitely answering your question, I truly do believe that,
Do you
unfortunately.
see a gender bias like in the spoken word also in the performance portion of it?
Not as much,
Okay.
but I think there always is, unfortunately, as a woman in all of the places we navigate.
Right.
I'd say yes in some areas. Yeah, like if some people don't really like talking about love and all that, like, oh, and that's for the women poets, right? They're always talking about the sappy stuff, or just or also delivery, right? If I go into a room, I have this like certain pieces where I'm cursing or like being aggressive, right? And they're like, oh, whoa, 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 like slow down,
Mm.
right? Like you're a girl.
Oh yeah.
um. So yes, yes.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to now, and then what is coming in the future for you.
Okay, what am I up to now? I'm still performing, just writing constantly. Um, finding, I guess, the balance between my performance poetry and my writing, trying to get published in different, places to just expand my resume, honestly, as a writer, grow, evolve. So that's where I'm at. Again, performing a lot, submitting to places, which I was terrified of at first, um, just to, be published. But yeah, getting over those hurdles. Other than that, like I said, also organizing spaces where other writers can be. So the organization I'm part of is called Mi Casa Writers. I'm the executive director, and the founders are my friends, and they brought me on board. But yeah, so they started the organization pretty much to develop community in the Bronx with writers, with no, how do I say, a lot of writing classes, unfortunately, in NYC sometimes are very intimidating, right?
Why
They're,
so?
I'd say, because personally, it, sometimes there's an expectation of the type of writer you should be, right? Um, and again, a lot of them are not very diverse,
Mm.
right? So we wanted to create a space where it was diverse, where anyone can come. You don't need a master's in writing. You don't need to be published in 25 places yet. You just, some people believe if you're not all of that, that don't call yourself a writer yet. You're an aspiring writer, right?
Right.
You're not there yet. So I don't believe that. I think sometimes, people just need a space to go other than their home, or, a coffee shop, just somewhere to go with other creatives, to be safe and create what they want with no pressure of, hey, you're here to get published, or if you don't from this class, then, we failed, or, though I go to those as well because that's what I want, but these are not necessarily for, if you want that, yes, come. If you don't, come. If you're a spoken word artist, come. If you're another type of artist, you're also welcome just to come and create things together and learn from one another. So
Hmm.
yeah. And then lastly, I host a monthly open mic. So that's also been a new venture, on the hosting side, which is very cool because it's still creating, and it's creating a space for other poets to do what they love, and that brings me joy seeing them. Sometimes it's their first time, and I'm like, so yeah, that just doing things that bring me joy, and they all include some type of aspect of my art and writing. So yes.
Very awesome. I really appreciate the insight that you gave us with the biases and you know what I'm realizing when I speak to a lot of creatives now. It's like I think this is with everything. We all hold each other with a lot of rules in place, like
Yeah.
expectations and rules, and then we don't let ourselves just be, let ourselves just express, let ourselves just flow, let the creativity flow wherever it's coming from or whoever's saying it or doing it. I think it's important to just be able to build that space within our communities, especially the creative ones, where people are just comfortable expressing themselves. It's crazy how many people I've interviewed and they're like, thank God I spoke up and thank God I decided to do these things. And then they're like, it's been an awesome experience because of it. And I feel like the only barrier that was holding them back was one themselves, which a
Mhm.
lot of it comes from society itself, that whole, self-esteem and the self-conscious or the subconscious. And then these little rules and like these expectations that we're holding against each other to, I don't know, be the best writer to walk in and do
Yes.
this and that. It's like it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I appreciate that. I really do. Before
Thank
I
you.
let you go, I just want you to give me a little send off that, maybe somebody can watch and say, you know what, I'm motivated now. I'm gonna go out there and do things. I have a daughter also that likes to write and draw and paint and stuff like that. So I would love, her to also see this and be like, hey, look, this person's a regular person like I am, and they're doing something awesome. So if you would please just give us a little send off.
Ah, so much to say.
Go
What do
ahead.
I say to stop being scared. Um, I think often fear is just the the thing holding everyone back, right? Creatives or not.
Hmm.
Um, just someone who's not a creative, right? You want a promotion at work, or you want to start a new career path, but you're scared, right? So creatives, you're scared to put your work out there. You're scared to do something new. You're scared people won't like it. Just let go of the fear. You're holding your own self back, right? And we like to put these voices in our head of other people. So what are people gonna think? Um, when in reality, a lot of people don't care as much as you think. And uh, don't be afraid to shed the old. A lot of people are holding on to things that are outdated
Hmm.
because they're attached, right? Um, and again, they're just scared of letting go. I'd say just the fear, kill it. It's not real. You made it up in your own head. So you can also rid yourself of it. And it's not going to be easy, but it will be worth it to walk your true life path, which I think everyone has the opportunity to do.
Yeah, there's space for
Yeah.
everyone to do something
Yes.
that they
Yes.
love. Like there's not. I don't know why we've put ourselves in this little ball. The Earth is really big.
Exactly. And the earth needs it. The
Yeah.
collective needs it. So the more people stepping into their full path,
Hmm.
the higher we all vibrate, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, Destiny. Thank you so much. I
You're
really,
very
I really
welcome.
appreciate you being on the channel and giving us some insight into your world and into your work. If you could just tell us one more time where we can find you, please.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
You can find me at on Instagram at Destiny Poet, spelled Destinypoet. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to put all that information on the screen and on the
Yes.
comment section below. And I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And to my audience, please go support Destiny and other writers and spoken word artists. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'll catch you in the next episode. Peace.
Bye, thank you. Bye.